Ladies and gentlemen, now in today's video, I wanted to share my thoughts on who I believe are some of the best and most valuable characters in 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross Global as of January 2021. And I've literally spent like the last week and a half working on this updated spreadsheet to include every single character in the game. So we got all the SSR characters, all the SRs, and all the Rs, and we've got all the characters currently released on Global for the current state of Global. So I've got a couple of categories of evaluation. I decided, unlike other tier lists, I wanted to split kind of a PvE and PvP evaluation, because there are certain characters like Green Esterosa and Red Derriere that are just broken in PvE, but still pretty good in PvP, but not quite on the level that they are in PvE in comparison. I've also added in a section on Coin Shop and SSR tickets for kind of newer and progressing players that see these characters like Green Esterosa and think, oh, I can never get that character, and then realize they're in the Platinum Coin Shop. So hopefully that helps out there. And also the SSR ticket is just to show again, that you could potentially pull a character like Red Derriere or Green Droll from a Part 2 SSR ticket there. And then I've also added in an additional notes section as well, which basically says like a few things or the core thing about a character that makes that character like really, really good. So just aims to give a bit more education on the value of certain characters. And for a lot of the top tier characters, it's fairly obvious, but hopefully there's some good information for newer and progressing players, especially when it comes to some of the characters like Twiggo, Marmus as well. You might be thinking, why are these characters good? And then you see that they have like a 30% health passive for all red teams or all blue teams, and then that maybe helps you understand the value and also ranking of those characters just a little bit more in comparison. So yeah, hopefully you guys like the update, and if you do want to see monthly updates as well, please do smash that like button and support this video. It really does help me out. So for this tier list as well, we have 4 tiers of evaluation, which can be found on the right hand side, but here, just for the sake of like formatting it nicely for a video, are on the left hand side. So we've got the SS, the broken OP characters, the characters that are just so incredibly ridiculous, man. So Gotha, you know, Goddess Elizabeth, Losfane, Meliodas, Esther, and Dairy for PvE as well. Your god tier characters that are still absolutely phenomenal, but maybe like a little bit below in terms of overall performance in comparison to some of the broken OP champions. But with certain combos, again, they can fuel up those characters even more. And then we've got the A tier, which is characters that are just generally speaking awesome, but really, really good characters. Maybe a little bit below for various reasons in either PvP or PvE in comparison to high rank characters. And then B, we got pretty good champions, again, characters that you could use if you wanted to, but again, have comparative cons to higher tier champions. And C is useful characters, again, characters that do have their uses that are a little bit more frequent, and maybe they're not so bad generally speaking. And D is like, okay, like there might be a certain fight or a certain scenario where you might want to use this champion for you know, this specific card or this specific passive, but generally speaking, this character is going to be on the bench most of the time. And E is just the terrible characters, and there aren't too many E rated characters, but there are a few that are just so incredibly useless, man. And again, I am a believer that most characters in this game can be useful for something. It's just like some characters are just like, why does this character exist, man? They're really, really bad. But anyways, talk you through some of the best at the moment. Again, Halloween Gotha, Goddess Losfane, Meliodas, just absolutely crazy for all sorts of stuff in PvE, PvP. Gotha is just a crazy enabler. With that upgrade card that he has, the upgrade cards is like the most valuable piece of utility in the entire game, because you can just spiral on so many teams, have access to so much additional utility, so much damage output, and on top of that, his passive is so much better and so much more reliable than the red version, because again, that bonus to all attack related stats like attack, crit damage, crit chance as well, and pierce rate is just absolutely mental for so much stuff in PvE and PvP. And Goddess Liz is just like the ultimate utility support champion. That revive, the shield, the massive heal, also counter damage reflect off the ultimate as well is just amazing for cheesing so much stuff in PvE, and also just like so valuable for PvP as well. And Losfane is just pure damage, pure carnage, man. There is crazy amounts of damage output, and the ultimate that just has such a high crit chance, hits everybody and hits like a friggin' truck, is just way too good. This man is a massive threat, and he makes like so many characters like close to unplayable in PvP, especially a lot of the green units as well. So yeah, Lost Veins just far too ridiculous at the moment. And then moving down, we got Green Esterosa. So you pair this man with either the green or red version of Gotha, you upgrade to a golden counter, and then he just destroys everybody. The lifesteal is absolutely insane as well, especially when you're like banging out 200k counters. So yeah, this guy's crazy, and available from the Platinum Coin Shop as well. And then we got Derriere, who's like the ultimate kind of like high scoring character for like knighthood boss, final bosses, and the highest single target damage character in the entire game once you get her ramped up. Like, yeah, her passive is just crazy, man, because you just keep on stacking up these buffs which allow her to hit harder and harder, and then you just fire off an ult. And with like Green Halloween Gotha and certain characters such as like Easton and Death Pierce as well, you can actually crit on that ultimate, and then the damage is just beyond crazy, man. You can get like, what is it, 15 to 80 million plus crits on stuff like the knighthood boss, and that's how you get like the really sweaty scores for a lot of the top players there. So yeah, Red Dairy is just beyond ridiculous in so many ways. And then we've also got characters like Zeldris and Green Troll, again, absolutely amazing control characters for PvP. Red Zeldris is pretty fantastic for a lot of PvE scenarios as well. Again, that ult drain, the hard-hitting ult, the general high damage output, and also passive that buffs up commandment characters and their stats as well. And everybody on the team, as long as there are commandments in play, is just so valuable. Even for stuff like Tower of Trials, he's a really good backline unit for Esterosa in the front. So yeah, Red Zeldris, absolute MVP there. And also in the Platinum Coin Shop. And then we got Green Droll, who's just like one of the control kings of PvP at the moment, paired with Zeldris and his commandment. This is like such an annoying duo to deal with, and if you have either like Halloween Gotha or Kyo as the third character on that team, you've got access to even more damage output, control, just annoying damage reduction with the ignites as well. So yeah, they're both top tier characters, at least in my opinion. And then we've also got Festival King and Demon Hendrickson. So this very new combo to Global is incredibly good at fighting the top meta teams if you do go first, but again, that requires a lot of investment in order for them to have higher CC than the standard Glue Eater team and go first and apply their debuffs, because if this team goes second, then Goddess Liz throws up her shield and you can't get the debuffs off, which is really annoying. So yeah, you ideally need like really high CC for this team to work well, and they're often run with Goddess Liz as the best combination. But if you're a massive blubbery whale, again, this team can be absolutely insane for Global at the moment, but also it doesn't have like too much longevity, because it does get clapped, I would say, a fair bit by like Sariel, the one Escanor, and also Assault Mode Meliodas coming out. But yeah, it's still not too bad in the right scenario and can be very useful in certain matters. Then we got Ladociel, who's just like the biggest whale unit. You ideally need like max everything, perfect rolls on everything, because you always want to make sure that you have more CC than every one of your opponent's characters to activate his passive. And if you can do that, he's very fun for all sorts of crit teams and combinations. But again, he's kind of mainly a whale character, because the crit teams are very good when you've got higher CC and you're bullying like low CC players, but fighting somebody on equal terms to you, again, the Glue Eater team is going to be superior in a lot of cases and scenarios, especially if that team has more CC and gets to go first as well, and also blocks out certain areas of his passive. But again, if you're a massive blubbery whale and you want to bully low CC players, like Ladociel is a fun character for certain crit videos, man. And then we got Kyo again. The ignites, the damage output is just absolutely phenomenal. Green Merlin is often used on the sub, mainly for a passive, which gives everybody on the front line an additional ult gauge at the start. Again, very often used for ult rush teams, but Merlin herself is like a bit of an outdated character in terms of her cards. The drain is still nice, the shield is nowhere near as valuable in comparison to Goddess Liz, but also even in the story, the drain is like reliable enough to be amazing for all sorts of scenarios, especially like the what is it, the friggin' Esterosa boss in Chapter 12 as well. And again, Blue King is amazing. You can also run him instead of like Green Gotha on the Liz and Lost Vein team, and sometimes that can be like a massive advantage. But generally speaking, if the Gotha, Liz, and Melee variant does go first, then they're going to win in comparison to the King variant there. But this team is still very useful and still really good. So yeah, Blue King certainly does have his place among A variety of teams, I would say. And then we got Red Gotha. Again, if you don't have Green Gotha, Red Gotha pretty much does everything you need the green one to do, but it's not quite as good for PvE and PvP. Again, doesn't have that super overpowered passive, and if he gets hit, it resets his passive ability. So yeah, that can be really annoying in some scenarios, and instead of the ult drain card, you do have attack disable. And again, in certain metas and certain matchups, that is really, really good. This guy can be MVP for certain stages in the story. Again, if you can attack disable opponents in the story, you definitely want to do it, because that can cheese like so many different stages. So he's still got like great value for story, and also really good value for PvP. He's just like living in the shadow of like Green Gotha at the moment, I would say. And Lilia and Omega Rugal are both fantastic characters, many for Pierce teams. Again, there are various combinations that you can run Blue Lilia with, but she's got an OP passive, solid heals, and ult drain. And I would say the more I've played around with Pierce, the more I realized that Omega Rugal is so far ahead of Blue Team Meliodas. His passive is just stupidly overpowered, man. And he's such an annoying character to play around, especially if the opponent doesn't have Red King on the backline as well. So yeah, Omega Rugal is definitely a solid character as well. And then we got Green Escanor. Escanor is one of those characters that is still crazy for most story and PvE content, but is more outdated when it does come to PvP teams at the moment. But again, sometimes with a good amount of RNG and a little bit of luck, he can be really good in the right scenario. So Escanor, he isn't bad, but again, the one is just going to permanently bench this dude as soon as he does get added. And then next up, we got some of my favorite characters, man. Red Glock Senior. I was arguing with myself earlier today whether or not I should put Glocks as S tier for PvP, because Glocks is just doing so well to shut down Lost Fame Meliodas and a lot of the Gotha upgrade teams at the moment. Like, his skill lock is so damn valuable, and also his heal at the level 3 also applies full debuff immunity for 2 turns as well, and his commandment helps to reduce the damage you're taking by applying a 30% attack related stats reduction to the opponent if they use 2 cards in the same turn. And again, a lot of people are going to try and do that to burst you down in a single turn, and a lot of the time they do fall like a little bit short with Lost Fame, which is really fun. So yeah, I really do enjoy Red Glock Senior control teams with Green Halloween Gotha and also Droll at the moment. And then we got Blue Team Meliodas. Again, a really good Pierce character if you can go first. Pierce, generally speaking, has very low combat class, and Ready goes first unless you're like a massive whale bullying like some free-to-play players or lower CC players. But Blue Team Meliodas in the right meta in the future. Again, a lot of people are starting to relax on the Pierce protection, so he can creep up and snipe all sorts of units. So yeah, Blue Team Melly, he ain't bad, man. He definitely has his uses here and there. And then we got Death Pierce on the sub for crit teams. Is absolutely insane, man. His OP passive just gives you so much more consistent crits on the front line, and also makes those crits hit even harder. He's very good as well as the passive character on the back line for auto farming teams, because again, he's going to increase that crit chance and also crit damage as well. So yeah, Death Pierce can be very useful, but he's not really played for like the actual character himself there, so just keep that in mind. Red King is Pierce protection for the back. Monspeed, the green version, hits like a friggin' truck with a Kyo and also Zeldris combination. So that is a very fun one to run with Athena on the backline for ult control there. And then you've got Blue Zeldris. Again, if you're a massive whale, very fun to run with like Death Pierce on the back, Ladociel, and also Halloween Gotha, because he hits like a monster truck, man. But that is a bit of a weighty combination, but it's really enjoyable at the same time. Mai is absolutely fantastic when paired with the blue version of Droll. Has some crazy AoE damage, also a very solid single target drain as well. So yeah, that's a very fun team to run as well. Green Derriere has some fantastic ultimate control for both PvE and also PvP scenarios. So yeah, she's really good as well if you need like a secondary character just to ult drain alongside the the green version of Merlin, especially against that blue Esterosa in story that's really annoying. So yeah, she can have her uses now and again, and it's very easy to fuel up to ult with her. However, in comparison to the red Derriere, again, she's a bit lacking on the damage because she doesn't generate her own buffs there, but she does have the same ultimate as red Derry. So if you have somebody that buffs in any way, shape, or physical form. Again, her ultimate can still hit quite hard there. And then we've got Red Escanor, again, alongside Red Arthur, and also the red version of Gotha. This character can be really, really good. Mainly more for PvE nowadays, but also in lower tier PvP. Again, this can be a very nice team for progressing players as well, because like all of these characters are available via the coin shop. So yeah, Red Escanor still is not a bad character, I would say, but he definitely struggles a lot more versus any team with Goddess Elizabeth on, because he really struggles to break the shield and also control that team as well. But again, a lot of crazy stuff can happen in Red Escanor matches. And also, if you want more survivability, like Twiggo on the sub can make him and the entire team like so incredibly beefy. And if you're fighting like, low ult level Lost Vein Meliodas, again with Twiggo on the back, you can survive and recover that health back. And maybe beat some Glue Eater teams there, but again, not the best, but still like potentially viable. Very similar story with Hawk and Oslo. Hawk and Oslo is a very tanky character, great ult drain as well. Very interesting ult that expels a character for 1 turn, unless you have them 6/6, in which case it's 2 turns. So I'd say Hawk and Oslo are kind of like whale characters for the most part, or a whale character, just due to the fact that in order to get like maximum control out of them, you do need that 6/6 ulti there. So again, not the best, but like not the worst characters. Again, the base stats, the lifesteal, everything there is really, really good, and they've got a nice attack reduction card as well. And then we got Athena, very good in PvP for the sub. We've got Red Lilia, nice in PvP. I prefer to use her with like the Halloween Gotha and also Red Zeldris control team. I found that to be the best way to play her, because on the Hendrickson and Festival King team, you don't really need the corrosion card. Goddess Liz is a lot more valuable for her shield, because that allows you to win so many more matches, and also the revive on Hendrickson as well, because if you don't have somebody protecting Hendrickson, then he's just going to immediately get one shot by like Lost Vein Meliodas, probably first turn, if not turn 2. So yeah, Red Lilia is alright, but again, when it comes to that team combo, I do think Goddess Liz is better to run as the third character. Then next up, we got Blue Droll, who's a really good tank paired with Mai. Again, he's going to be increasingly more valuable in the future with Assault Mode Meliodas, and Green Fighter Diane is nice with like certain Lost Vein Alt Rush teams, and increasingly more valuable in the future against the 1 Escanor. So yeah, she's really, really good for just like making the 1 Escanor be able to do like almost nothing. She's probably like the best tank against him. So yeah, when he comes out, she's probably like S tier for PvP, so just something to keep in mind there as well. Green Meliodas, not really so great for PvP at the moment, but still really valuable if you are a progressing player for PvE. Those counters hit very hard, but overall he's a worse version of Estarossa. And then we've got Green Shin, who's really insane for PvE auto farming. He's probably like arguably one of the best auto farming characters in the entire game, and also for PvP. For certain AoE cleave teams, he can work quite nicely. The problem Shin has at the moment is that Lost Vein Meliodas exists, and he's a green character that's not particularly tanky. So yeah, takes crazy damage from Lost Vein and can just be like almost one shot with a gold card and just easily finish off with a second card there. Now, moving a bit down, again, we got so many characters that we could talk about today, but I don't want to make this like a 2.5 hour video. So just to fly through the general gist of the B tier, again, these are pretty good characters. These are characters that have their various uses in all sorts of content, but for whatever reason are comparatively like a little bit worse in comparison to top tier options at the moment. So yeah, there's characters as well that in the future, like for example, the red version of Melascula, currently right now is not the spiciest character, because she's very easy to get down with like Lost Vein Meliodas' ult and several other comps and setups, but in the future with Assault Mode Meliodas, again, could be substantially more valuable. So again, some characters will be receiving promotions in the future when their time and meta does come, but at the moment they are, comparatively speaking, just a little bit flawed for the current meta of what we have on Global. But again, B is still like the pretty good tier, so I'm not saying by any means these characters are bad. They're all playable, they're all viable, depending on what you'd like to run alongside them. And then the C tier kind of goes down to a bit more useful. Like, again, you can use these characters for all sorts of stuff, like maybe very good in Training Cave or for the right boss when it does pop up, but generally speaking are not characters that you are going to play like too regularly there. And D tier is occasionally useful, like for example Green Fat King was amazing for like final boss Diane, is alright for AoE farming as well if you don't have other options, but generally speaking there are better options to run in comparison. And then we got the E tier. Like, why do these characters exist, man? Like Green Bar Nunchuck, Blue Hendrickson, Halloween Meliodas, Blue Hellbrum, and also Green Griamore. Like all characters that are very, very questionable there. And then I've got all the SR characters, if people want to have a look through those in their rankings. Again, characters like Gil Thunder and Red Slater can be really, really useful as well, especially Red Liz for certain stuff in PvE, and Gustav as well is kind of the main freezing character that a lot of people use, because you can't run Merlin alongside the green version of Gotha, because Merlin is unknown, Green Gotha is unknown, so you need a full team of different races in order for Gotha's passive to work. So Gustav is kind of the character of choice when it comes to big scoring and also knighthood boss if you can freeze the opponent. So yeah, he's arguably a little bit more valuable of a freeze character at the moment. So yeah, this is all kind of covered in the notes for the most part. But again, we've got some SR characters that are quite useful and again quite good for new and progressing players, and certain stuff like Jillian, which is fantastic for the sub of all green teams there. Some characters that have some, questionable uses. You're not really going to see too much of them, but, can maybe do something in the right scenario. And characters that are just like, why would you use this character? There's just not too much of a reason to. And again, going down, we got some love for our boy Twiggo and his very OP passive for red teams, which I say red teams are probably, mono red teams are arguably the strongest combination of a mono team at the moment, because there's a lot of really good red characters, so you can make certain stuff work. And Marmus, again, in certain scenarios, that passive for blue teams can be incredibly valuable as well. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed today's tier list update for January 2021, and all of the blood, sweat, and tears put into this Google spreadsheet. And if you did, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. But aside from that, thank you all very much for watching. Take care, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.